Welcome to the Morning Ritual Podcast, meditations and conversations to set the tone for your day. My name is Lily Bulch, and today we have Barron Hanson on the podcast. Barron is a filmmaker, meditation teacher, and is the founder of Convo, a creative studio that aims to create a better world through original storytelling. I met Barron a few years ago through mutual friends when we were both living in New York City, which I'm sure we'll dive into a little later. And I've always been inspired by the work that he's putting out into the world. So, needless to say, I'm excited to dive into conversation with him and explore what he's been up to. So, Barron, warm welcome. How you doing today?
Lily, it's great to hear your voice and see your face after it's been a while. It's been a moment since we caught up.
It has. It has. So, the last time we spoke was New York City. I want to say pre-pandemic, but probably mid-pandemic before some big changes. And from my perspective, what I can see is that you've kind of seamlessly blended your love of meditation and your expertise as a filmmaker and are doing some really interesting things. So I want to get into that in a moment, but before we do, can you kind of catch me up and fill me in and tell the listener how you've gone from creative studio convict, busy New York, to Vedic meditation teacher and kind of explaining that transition and what drew you into meditation.
Yeah, that's a really good place to start. Did the last place we hang out though, was it a Halloween party? Were we at the same Halloween party at Morgan's Loft in Brooklyn? And it
I
was
think
like
I
kind
was
of
Britney
it was
Spears.
it was on the sketchy side of the pandemic where it was like everyone was meant to get a test, and because it was October of 2020, and it was just a raging house party, and it was like a lot of people really let loose because we hadn't really been out. I think that was the first party I went to after everything shut down. So I just wanted to mention that was probably the last place we hung out, and that was really fun.
So much fun. Yeah, that's amazing. I think we all were like ready to let loose a little bit. And gosh, Halloween. Yeah. So what's happened since?
So since then, since I saw you last, that's a really good question. So yeah, when we last hung out in New York, I was working on my company, which was a creative studio, or still is a creative studio called Convicts. And our goal was to tell positive stories, tell stories that we would say like make stories about troublemakers who are making the world a better place, troublemakers for a better world. And so I had a lot of fun there, and we did that for 7 years. We made a number of short films and a number of longer films. But I really felt like we were making these amazing films that were about like social justice issues, but I really didn't feel like we were making a huge difference. We were making these films and then we were sharing them with our friends like you, who all already believed in all of the things we were campaigning for, like Black Lives Matter or LGBTQI rights or Stop Asian Hate or climate change. It was like great films, beautiful films, but it's like we just sent them to our friends and our friends liked them. And it was like, what change are we actually really making? And so when I was living in New York City, much like yourself, I picked up a meditation practice. And I think for me, that was really important because it helped me to balance the intense energy of New York City. You walk outside, and when we used to live there, you'd walk outside and it was just an assault on the senses. You walk outside and it's like an inherently stressful place, the concrete jungle. And so I picked up the meditation practice there, and it really helped me. It was probably the thing that helped me to survive and thrive for the best part of 8 years in New York City. And so I was having this underlying feeling that, I wasn't doing as much as I could. And I started to think about where could I make more impact. And I come from a small town in Australia. And in 2019, we faced the worst drought in history and then subsequent bushfires, which destroyed hundreds of homes, and it was very stressful for the community, which led into COVID. And then we had some of the worst floods in recorded history. And so our town is a regional town. It's already a place that suffers from things like mental illness, violence, alcoholism, and add all those things on top. It became quite apparent that there was a lot of stress here. So I thought maybe I could bring this meditation practice to my hometown, and being a filmmaker, maybe I can make a documentary about it. And I think, like, to sum all that long story up, I kept thinking about this statement: think global, act local. So it's this idea of, like, where can you actually make change? Where can you actually have an impact? And I felt, for me, that place was my hometown. And so moved back from New York, put all my stuff in a shipping container, including that polar bear I had on my rooftop. I put it all into a shipping container and shipped it back to my hometown of Nowra on the south coast of New South Wales. And for the last 18 months, I've been working on this project called Be Here Nowra Community Happiness Project, where I'm trying to implement meditation to the people of the town, and I'm filming and documenting the whole process.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And like being able to document this is on that larger scale. I mean, it's local, but I mean, how many people are you teaching? Can you give a number, or is
Yes.
it?
Yeah, so the town population is 30,000, and my goal is to teach 1%. So 300 people is what I'm aiming to do. So it's totally achievable. And I've taught about 150 people in the first 18 months of the project. So it's right on track to kind of happen over 3 years. And then, yeah, as you said, like the film part is exciting because it can be a blueprint for other meditation teachers, yoga practitioners, stand-up paddleboard teachers, whatever you do, to like show them how I built a community around a wellness activity in my hometown, and they can use that and go through the same process to do that in their town. So hopefully the ripple effect extends just beyond my little town through the power of film.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And so going back to your process of becoming a meditation teacher, did you do this during the pandemic? Was this before? What was the timing on that?
Yeah, so to become a Vedic meditation teacher is quite a process. I was doing the prerequisites before the pandemic. I wanted to already be a teacher, and that kind of stemmed from, our crew in New York. I think all was discovering mindfulness and well-being around the same time, our mutual friends and things like that. And so I was already meditating, and a number of people were coming to me asking, hey, like, what meditation do you do? And there was lots of worthy inquiry. Like, I'm interested, what's process are you doing? And so for me, I was like, I should become a teacher in this because I have so many people asking me about it. And so I was already undergoing the process, and I did about 2 years of prerequisite courses. I got knocked back from, I applied a couple of times for the training course. I hadn't done enough, had to do some more. And then I finally got in 2021, and then commenced in 2022. And I finished in April of 2022 was when I kind of graduated to become a Vedic meditation teacher.
Cool. And so something I mention a lot on this podcast is that we don't meditate to become a great meditator. We meditate to become better at life. And I'm curious, as you deepened your practice and as you became a teacher, which really deepens the practice, what did you notice in your own life, like shift? Did something become the way that you operate, whether it's with work or relationships or with your own self? Was there a big shift that you can speak to?
Yeah, it's quite noticeable, and it's quite profound. And I think it's this idea that most people spend most of their life stuck on the surface layer. If imagine like an ocean, and we're all kind of stuck in our individual minds, call it our ego minds, and we're all having this individual experience of like being a wave on the ocean. We're all individual different waves and shapes and sizes. And then as we start to meditate more and more, is we start to experience what it's like to be more like the ocean. We go beyond thought, and we get to experience what it's like to be that big self, the collective consciousness, as opposed to the individual consciousness, small self, big self. And so the more time that you spend in big self, the more you start to feel kind of connected to the people around you, to the things around you, to nature. You feel more part of something big as opposed to this individual. And so I think what happens over time is the more and more time you spend in the transcendent beyond thought, is that you start to make decisions based on the good of the collective rather than the good of the individual. And I think about like a lot of the problems in the world, and a lot of the problems in the world are caused by someone putting their needs over the needs of someone else. And so I think that the more that we can act from the collective, the more that our decisions start to become more aligned with nature, and the more that we start to kind of position ourselves for the collective good. And so I feel like that was my transition from New York, like Barron, ego, New York, creative agency, making heaps of money, doing like getting all the hot girls, like that kind of thing. And then it's like I've kind of transcended that, and it's like gone beyond that. And it's like, no, I'm going to do something for my community, and I'm going to give back, and I'm going to take a huge page cut, and I'm going to just do this because it's for the good of my town rather than ego Barron, I guess. New York ego Barron.
I love
Does that
that.
make
Yeah.
does that make sense? Does that analogy make sense to you?
Oh, it makes
Does it
so much
resonate with
sense.
you as well? Is it part of
And
your
yeah,
story?
yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And thank you for that beautiful explanation using the ocean analogy. And yeah, for me, I think New York, yes, you're right, it's such an intense place. And I was living there, let's say, from age 20 to 30, basically. So the 20s. And for me, I've always been sort of in that 10-year gap. I've always been I was a dancer, but simultaneous to that, a yoga and meditation teacher. So my career, I was already doing like three jobs at one time, just trying to afford New York City, but then also part of this really buzzy social circle. And I am naturally social and love to go out, and balancing all these different aspects of self in New York, trying to really like keep up with all of it, and very ego driven in that state, was constantly like burnt out. And then pandemic forced us all to have a little bit of a break and step back and see things. And it really made me evaluate a lot of like what I want in life. And so yes, I moved to London, and then being in this place where I have more of my own time and space to practice. I've kind of realigned my values and my priorities to, yeah, not be so ego driven in the sense of what am I accomplishing? What do I what do I look like? Who am I hanging out? What am I doing? And more for service. And so I've been able to focus on my career as a meditation teacher in a way that's so much more effortless, so much
Mhm.
more the energy that I have to give is like infinite. I actually like get energy from sort of doing the work of of listening to something that's so much greater than me. It's part of big self. And I think, long story short, I think for me, the meditation practice has really opened my level of like creativity and connectedness in a way that's like, it's not about me at all. I'm not creating from Lily. I'm creating from this energy that's much larger. And so it feels really like really infinite in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the experience of big self. It is. Yeah, you what you explained is that there's infinite amount of energy, infinite amount of creativity, and it's effortless. Effortlessness is how I teach my meditation practice. Is like it should be effortless. I have one rule: don't try too hard.
Gorgeous. I love it. I love it. So tell us, okay, so the name of your project, of your film, is Be Here Nowra. Nowra being where you're from, right? In this town. And the film has been made, or are you still creating it?
Yeah, so we started 18 months ago. We did the first block of filming, and we recently ran a Kickstarter campaign, which was really successfully funded. And basically, that money is now going towards two more shoots, and the next shoot actually starts next week, which is super exciting. We've been casting for the last two weeks to try and find unique characters, and so the whole idea is I want to find people, and I'm calling them unlikely heroes. People who you wouldn't expect to meditate. So I've got my old science teacher. I've got someone who is in recovery. someone who is highly anxious, a cancer survivor. And so all these different people from different walks of life, different archetypes, and we're going to find out what their life is like before they meditate. So go into their homes, interview them, see what life is like, and then the week after that, I'm going to teach them all to meditate. And then we're going to follow their journey and come back in 6 months' time and see whether there's been any changes. So it's super exciting because I'm getting to meet these people when they're at this pivot point, and I'm sure you do as well. Because when people come to learn to meditate, they're really saying, "Hey, I want to make some change in my life." They're not happy with how things are going, and they want to make some change. And so I'm getting to meet these people, and they're willing to be on film, which is so cool and so vulnerable, and so they just people want to be able to share their story, and so it's exciting for me because I don't know what's going to happen, and that's the beauty of documentary filmmaking is, there's no intended outcome. I don't know if these people are going to hate meditation or if these people are going to completely change their life or, we don't know. And so it's really exciting that we're at the precipice of the rest of the film, basically.
Hmm. And so over the course of the next 6 months, do you have anything in place to help these people make meditation a habit and show up every day or every week, or are you kind of seeing how they go, or how are you kind of encouraging them to stick to the practice?
Yeah, well, I think like what's really important as a meditation teacher is that we're never pushy. We're never like you never want to force meditation on anyone. You never want to force someone to do it. So in the style that I teach, Vedic, I give people all the tools to be completely self-sufficient in their practice. And I think that's a mark of a good teacher is one who has the ability to make their students self-sufficient. The ones who keep people coming back all the time, it's like we let's give them the tools, let's give them what they need and let them
Mm.
be able to do it. But the thing is, because this is a community project, I already have 150 meditators out there in Nara already meditating. We have group meditations twice a week. So Wednesday nights we have them. We just finished one, and then Sunday mornings we have one. And so there is a place for people to come to continue to practice, but also like what's really important is not just the meditation, it's the community building. It's the social interaction with people who are like-minded. And I think since COVID, people have been looking to socialize differently, right? Like not going to the pub so much, or people a bit like they're not going to events and that kind of thing. So like something like meditation where you can come connect on and meditate, like have a meditation together and then hang out and go for a coffee after seems to be like the new cool in Nara at least.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome. And meditation can be a very like introspective, lonely thing, especially if you're just at home listening to a recording, or if you're doing your own at-home practice, which is still super beneficial. But when you can do it with other people and have conversations after, and I think that energy is something that's really unique and really special. So
Yeah.
that's so cool that you're creating that in your
Yeah.
community. I'm so
Yeah.
excited to check
I'm
this film.
curious about you though, yeah, what about you? How do you cultivate community? You obviously doing a similar thing. Like what are some of the things that you found that have been successful in, bringing people together and keeping the energy? Because a lot of people come and learn and then it's like they lose the energy, right? Like they're excited and then it's like peters off. So how do you like keep up the energy? A podcast obviously is a great one, but like, yeah, what do
Hmm.
you do?
Yeah, I'm certainly still learning and exploring what works, and really how to build community. And this podcast, yes, is like one form of it. Here in London, I'm actually opening up, it's a community space called The Space, and the tag is art, mindfulness, community. It opens next week.
Cool,
So,
awesome,
so this is
congratulations.
you. This is my attempt at finding different creative, fun ways to bring the community together with that intention. So it's sound baths, it's movement classes, it's like Tai Chi and Qigong, things that you're not seeing left and right. Like I am a yoga therapist and a meditation teacher. So like, yes, that will be coming in, but I want to get different experiences, even in just like musicians coming through, and how can we blend a listening experience with meditation, or cacao ceremonies, or cooking. Or I think if you have multiple angles of like meditation doesn't, or rather mindfulness doesn't have to just be sitting in stillness by yourself. We can bring mindfulness into a eating dinner experience. So I think the more that we infuse this knowledge into everyday activities and in community with other people, we can just up level it even more. So I'll keep you posted on how the community space goes. But yeah, I think building community is an interesting topic, and can be kind of challenging to try to, um, I guess, to the start of building community. I don't know. It doesn't have to be challenging, but what have you found kind of works?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely challenging. I think it sometimes can be like disheartening, like when you get someone who comes to group meditations for a few weeks and then they don't come anymore, and you're like, is it me? Like, is it did I do something? Did I say something? Did I like was the incense too strong? And so I think like you have to kind of always remember that people will only kind of like behave at the level of consciousness that they're at, and you can't change people, you can't force community. But I think like for me, it's been about multidisciplinary. So like not just getting caught up in the Vedic, that Vedic meditation, and knowing that there's lots of different modalities. So like inviting breathwork instructors to come once a month and do a breathwork class. I share the studio with Pilates. We have yoga in here 5 times a week. We have I'm inviting my friend to run a dance class, at the end of next month. So it's like those kinds of things where you just like not getting too stuck in your own ways and thinking that like your way is the highway, and just knowing that like different strokes for different folks. And then yeah, like not taking it too seriously and not getting too concerned when like the people don't come back. It's like everyone's got their own things and their own lives, and not taking it too personally, I think, is just probably part and parcel of what we do.
Totally. Totally. So, for our listeners, they may have never heard the term Vedic meditation. Probably should have asked this earlier in the conversation, but can you just explain the difference between like Vedic meditation and say, let's say, mindfulness meditation?
Yep. So very simply, the classification of Vedic meditation is that it's considered a automatic self-transcendent technique, and it's a mantra-based practice. So in Vedic meditation, you're given your own personalized mantra. The mantra is the tool for de-exciting the mind. As you think the mantra, your mind relaxes, and as your mind relaxes, the body follows. And so it provides you with really deep levels of rest. And so automatic self-transcendent, meaning that you do it yourself, meaning that it's not guided. You're just thinking the mantra easily, effortlessly. And then the transcending means to go beyond. And so in this context, goes beyond thought. So it's just a simple method of moving us beyond thought and providing us with a deep level of rest. We recommend meditating 20 minutes twice a day is the recommended dosage of Vedic meditation. Comes from India, the name Vedas. It was brought to the Western world by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi as part of the Shankaracharya lineage. It's still kind of recognized by the current Shankaracharya, which is the king of the yogis in India, as a legitimate practice. It's endorsed by the Shankaracharya. So when I graduated, I got to have usually most teachers get to meet the Shankaracharya in person, but I graduated in COVID. So I had a FaceTime with the Shankaracharya, which was
Oh,
pretty funny. The spiritual leader of 1 billion people in India, and just being on FaceTime with him
that's so good.
was quite an experience. So yeah, it's rooted in deep tradition, 5,000 years old tradition, and now taught by teachers all over the world. It's quite popular and quite well known. And I guess the people might have heard of transcendental meditation, TM. It's a similar style to transcendental in that it's a mantra based practice. Comes from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, so part of that lineage.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so I like to close off the interview episodes with a few rapid fire questions. And they're pretty
Love
easy
it.
to answer, but you up for it?
Let's go.
Okay, so first rapid fire question. Are you a morning person or an evening person?
I'm a night owl. My like creative genius zone is after dinner, like 9 to 11 p.m. is where I get like I hit my flow. So yeah, definitely an evening person.
That's amazing. I am such a morning person, and if I had to do anything from 9 to 11, it would be shocking. So it's fun. It's funny. So when you get up in the morning, are you coffee, tea, matcha? What is your like first go-to beverage?
Yeah, so my dinacharya, my morning routine. So I have been off caffeine for quite a while. Since meditating, I found that I just don't have any need for it anymore, which has been quite liberating. Because when I was in New York, I was relying on caffeine and other substances. I think it's natural there to kind of rely on a lot of things to get you by, like whether it be alcohol, drugs, caffeine, that city required a lot of input extra to keep me going. So I'm clean now. I'm off coffee, off caffeine. Haven't had a drink this year either, which has been very liberating. But so in the morning, yeah, I just get up. I might have some warm water, and then I'll do a meditation. And then I will do a little workout, and then I usually have like a protein shake to kind of get my morning started after I've done my morning routine.
Awesome. Awesome. And that's amazing. You haven't had a drink all year. Congrats. That's pretty
Thank you.
great. I've had a few months this year where I did like dry Jan, sober September, which everyone was like, what? It's sober September, sober October. Um,
Nice.
and it feels so good.
Yeah.
And next question. So let's go back to 25-year-old Barron. If you could give 25-year-old Barron a piece of advice, what would it be?
So actually had a friend who's 25 years old who just asked me this question recently, and I think I told her to buy stocks in Tesla. No, that was a joke. I actually did tell her that, but I think the thing is that I think I would say to myself, uh, do exactly what you're doing and don't change a thing. And the reason for this is that I think all of the mistakes and everything that I've learned are part of the journey. And I think probably a lot of people can resonate this is like everything happens for a reason, right? And I did some dumb stuff when I was 25. I was just moved to New York. I'd maybe just broken up with a out of a long-term relationship, partying a lot. I was that ego Baron. And I think I had to do all that to become the man I am today. So, you know, I enjoy that. But I also want to mention something is that it's totally possible for us to go back to our 25-year-old self right now, right? And there's this belief in Vedic philosophy that all time happens simultaneously, that everything's happening right now, and that we can actually go and re-inspire our old selves just by placing simple awareness on 25-year-old self. And so I like to think about this sometimes that our higher self, our future more evolved self is always coming back down the line and re-inspiring ourselves. And so sometimes when we're going through hard times, really tough times, like the hardest things, whether it be breakups or financial woes, or we're really down or really hungover, or we've got some sort of illness that won't go away, which is all things that have happened to me. I like to think that like my higher self is kind of that little voice in my head saying like, "Hey, everything's going to be all right. Just keep doing what you're doing." And so I like to think about that in the present moment, but also know that you can do that and you can re-inspire your own past by going back and doing that. And so, like right now, maybe all the listeners, we could do a little exercise where we can maybe go back and think about a time in our lives that was really hard. One of the hardest times, and for me, that was probably a breakup that I had, and just send that 25-year-old Baron a little bit of love right now. So maybe we could take a moment, just do that. Think of a tough time and send a little bit of love to ourselves. and now know that that 25-year-old Barron is receiving that love, and that sad 25-year-old Barron is now feeling a little bit happier, and maybe he doesn't know why, but he just like got a little bit of inspiration. So we can do that every day. You know, it's so easy to do, and our future self is doing it back to us right now.
That's so cool. Yeah, I love that. I just went back to a difficult time and sent myself a little love. And she sort of, in my own brain, looked back at me and was like, I know, like a little communication.
Yeah.
I know you got my back. Keep yourself as you always have. And I thought that in the
Love
moment
that.
as I was navigating this difficult time a couple of years ago, that the knowledge in that moment of I'm going to learn so much from this experience. Like I had that and I still have that. I mean, I had a really challenging day just yesterday. And what helped me get through it was the knowledge of, oh my God, you have so much to learn. And I was being faced with my ego in a big way. And it was like, you're just confronting something that you really need to look at. And just having that perspective of there's so much to learn from these mistakes or difficult moments or um, challenges. So what an awesome practice. And Barron, I'm
Yeah.
so happy you came on the show. It's so awesome to catch up with you and learn about what you're doing. And for our listeners and for myself, how can we like keep up to date with Be Here Now and help support and check it out when it comes out?
Yeah. Cool. Before we wrap up, I just wanted to mention one thing too, is when we were in New York, I bought your yoga book for kids that you'd written, and I gave it to my niece, but she hasn't been able to read, but she's just started to read. And today, because I knew we were doing this, we pulled it out of her bookshelf, and I was like, oh, I'm going on Lily's podcast today, and had your little yoga book for kids out. She's 2.5 now, so she can start to understand it, and she loved it. So I wanted to say, I don't know if you've written any more books since, but that's awesome. And that book that you made is somewhere in Australia, in Nowra right now, in a 2.5-year-old's library.
Yay! Oh, you're the best, Barron. Thank you. Yes, sail away and namaste. We've got a couple more coming out. So if you've got kiddos in your life, keep your eyes peeled, sail away and
Yeah,
namaste.
it's awesome. It's on Amazon. So was it still on Amazon? It was on Amazon when I got it. Yeah, cool. So in terms of supporting Be Here Now, firstly, if you want to follow us on social media, that's awesome. Follow the journey. It's at Be Here Now on Instagram and Facebook. The other thing I'm asking, it's kind of a big ask, but it's come visit Nowra. And so a big part of what I wanted to do was to change people's perception of my hometown. My hometown it's a beautiful place, but it has a really bad reputation. It when I was growing up here, I was like, I just wanted to leave. Like people would tease you, like, "Oh, you're from Nowra, you're going to steal my phone." And so the whole part of this film is to show all of the positive things that are happening within our community. So if you live in Australia or overseas, is like put Nowra on your to visit list. Come visit, like pop in for a meditation. Come say hi if you're in town. Hit me up on Instagram. Like we'll go for a coffee. I really want to like not only grow the consciousness of the town, but bring conscious energy to the town as well. And we're going to do a meditation festival in October 2024, where we're going to invite the world to come and meditate in Nowra for a month, or for however long you want, but we're going to do something for the whole month. So yeah, it's a big ask. Either follow us on Instagram or come visit Nowra. And then watch the film when it comes out. Maybe we can do a second one of these when the film comes out, and then we can talk about the film once it's like in production or at Sundance or wherever it's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. We should definitely do that. And then maybe I can do a little showing in my studio in London and create a little conversation around it.
It'll be a pretty big studio, I think, by then. And yeah, congrats on that too. Like that's amazing. And I think like it's so important to build community and have physical spaces. And so it's very easy for us meditation teachers to exist just online and like be have these things and be on social media. But like being out and being on the front line and being with people is like absolutely the best way which we can have the most positive impact. So good on you.
Thank you, Barron. Awesome. Well, we'll end the episode the way that we always do, with a full breath in, a complete breath out, and have a lovely day.
Have a lovely day.